Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin. Volume 12, Lord Luo Feng. Chapter 452, Eternity, Final Chapter, Part 1. 27th of Volume 12. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The long river of time flowed ceaselessly onward. In the origin world, cycles of reincarnation repeated endlessly. Countless practitioners were trapped in this cycle, with only a rare few surviving to the next era. However, the origin continent, origin world, the homeland of Lord Luo Feng, stood apart, untouched by the tribulations of reincarnation. Over countless ages, the origin continent had flourished, becoming a realm of unparalleled prosperity and teeming with formidable warriors. Ha ha ha. I, Luo Hai, have finally reached the origin continent through my own efforts. A young man with a sword strapped to his back arrived on the origin continent, his eyes gleaming with excitement as he surveyed his surroundings. For this day, Luo Hai had sacrificed everything. The suppression of the origin continent is indeed formidable. I can't even fly here, Luo Hai muttered, standing in the vast wilderness. With a mental command, a pair of silver wings sprouted from his back. Only by activating this winged secret treasure could he fly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soaring high above, Luo Hai gazed out over the boundless world below. Luo Hai. A familiar voice rang out. A black-robed child materialized out of thin air, her eyes crinkling into a mischievous smile as she looked at Luo Hai. Babata. Luo Hai exclaimed, recognizing her instantly, Babata, you can teleport even to the origin continent. Of course, I can. Babata said proudly, I, Babata, am now one of the 72 vice-rulers of the origin continent's 9th term. With the governor's edict, I can easily reach any corner of the origin continent. And your dad even upgraded my physical body to the threshold of the God King level. The origin continent's 9 supreme governors served without fixed terms. However, the 72 vice-rulers were subject to periodic rotation. Thanks to Luo Feng's trust, Babata had finally secured a position as one of the 72 vice-rulers in the 9th term. Babata shook her head and looked at Luo Hai and said, look at you, wasting all these epochs to become a true god. With talent like that, you'll never reach the God King realm, no matter how much time you have. You'd be better off following your brother's example and having your dad directly elevate you to the ultimate God King realm. Even raising you to the God Emperor level is not impossible. With Luo Feng's Xuanhuan life and death Dao, transforming living beings to the God King or God Emperor levels was effortless. That would be far too boring, Luo Hai said, shaking his head. Since father became a lord, I've also already achieved undying status. With infinite time at my disposal, I can slowly explore the path of cultivation. This path is fraught with challenges and obstacles, but overcoming them is precisely what makes it so rewarding. You've completely abandoned the path of cultivation, Luo Hai said, shaking his head again. His cultivation wasn't about reaching some ultimate level of power, it was about savoring the journey itself. True God, void true God, eternal true God. Each stage offered its own unique sights. To become a God King or God Emperor directly through his father's influence. And then remain stuck at that level forever. How utterly dull. You can choose your path freely, but we can't, Babata countered, shaking her head, we don't have the luxury of being picky. Luo Feng's status is too high, and he's surrounded by so many friends and family. Even getting a moment with him is difficult enough, how could we afford to be picky? When such a rare opportunity arises, we have to seize it and ask for whatever benefits we can get. It wasn't until the 9th cycle of the 72 vice-rulers that Babata's turn came, a testament to the sheer number of individuals ahead of her. Her close friendship with Luo Feng was the reason Luo Feng had personally met with her, granting her a God King level, first-tier physical body of the life Dao. In contrast, her former master, Bo, had received only limited cultivation resources and 3 chances at resurrection, never earning a private audience with Luo Feng. As for cultivation, Bo had to rely entirely on his own efforts. Luo Feng rarely intervened personally to modify living beings. Should I accompany you? Babata asked. The origin continent is a land of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, teeming with experts. A mere true god like you venturing there alone could be extremely dangerous. No need, Luo Hai replied, shaking his head. You don't want intelligence either? Babata asked, puzzled. Luo Hai smiled. The surprise is the point. Let me explore the origin continent on my own. Babata sighed, watching helplessly as Luo Hai's wings flared and he soared into the distance. Luo Ping and Luo Hai, such contrasting personalities, Babata thought. The origin continent's power dynamics were now incredibly complex, fraught with peril, yet Luo Hai seemed utterly unfazed. The abyss of destruction, as its core being the mountain of destruction. Luo Feng's main combat clone had already arrived here. Xiao Hai has finally become a true god and reached the origin continent, Luo Feng murmured, a faint smile appearing on his face. He then looked up at the 7 distant sculptures. Over countless years, Luo Feng had attempted this challenge countless times, repeatedly falling before the sixth sculpture. Yet the gap between them grew smaller with each attempt. After the war, countless years have passed. 19 new Xuanhuan ancestors have emerged. The existing ancestors have also grown stronger, and 2 more have achieved immortal realm status. Luo Feng frowned, yet our practitioner faction hasn't produced a single new lord, and our overall strength has barely improved. Lord Xingmeng and Lord Momen had yet to refine their mid-tier mysterious lands. The other lords showed no progress in their cultivation. Yuan continued his attempts to create an origin world, while Lord Negu had made some gains in power. But as for the practitioner faction as a whole, their strength had barely increased. In the infinite Xuanhuan space, the Xuanhuan ancestors are far more numerous, and their power grows steadily. Luo Feng understood, but for the practitioner faction, each new lord represents a qualitative leap in strength. The practitioner faction's power surged in leaps and bounds. But the emergence of a new lord is so incredibly difficult. Luo Feng murmured, shaking his head slightly. Even though the 8 lords had diligently managed their territories, they had yet to see any hope of a new lord emerging. Luo Feng continued forward. The 6th sculpture among the 7 venerable sculptures, the miniature mountain of destruction, began to awaken. The Black Mountain's intangible aura locked onto Luo Feng from afar, and it slowly began to drift toward him. Its flight speed was relatively slow. As the distance closed, the Black Mountain's size steadily increased, eventually reaching 1/10 the scale of the full mountain of destruction. Luo Feng calmly observed his opponent. After having clashed with this formidable foe countless times, he was intimately familiar with its strengths. Boom. The Black Mountain suddenly surged forward with explosive speed, its terrifying momentum distorting time-space and binding Luo Feng's movements. Yet Luo Feng didn't even bother to dodge. He simply drew his blade. A flash of blade light. Shish. A silent rift split the vast Black Mountain in 2. The mountain's massive bulk grazed Luo Feng, sending him flying backward with a resounding crash and inflicting severe injuries. Even as he hurtled through the air, Luo Feng continued to swing his blade. Luo Feng knew perfectly well that techniques like severing life force or locking on were utterly useless against this opponent. To defeat the vast Black Mountain, destruction was the only path. The goal was to completely annihilate this formidable entity. Rumble. The vast Black Mountain charged relentlessly, its terrifying momentum sending Luo Feng flying with every graze, collision, or impact. Each time he was hurled back, he sustained injuries, yet his energy reserves would instantly replenish to their peak. While enduring constant damage, Luo Feng unleashed a relentless barrage of strikes, the blood shadow blade crashing repeatedly against the mountain's massive form. Some blade light, capable of cleaving through anything, carved deep rifts into the mountain's surface. Other strikes, their power concealed, slipped through existing fissures to penetrate the mountain's interior. Still others, imbued with terrifying force, detonated deep within the mountain's core, triggering cataclysmic explosions. Rumble. Luo Feng was sent tumbling in all directions, his flesh torn and bloodied. Each impact drained at least 1 or 2% of his energy reserves, a consequence of the destructive power and galaxy territory power. The Black Mountain relied on brute force, overwhelming Luo Feng with relentless, crushing strikes. Its ferocity surpassed even Luo Feng's, and its physical resilience rivaled that of Lord Wu Lan himself. Of course, Lord Wu Lan, as a lord, possessed a flawless physique with no vulnerabilities. The Black Mountain, as one of the 7 venerable sculptures, had a critical weakness, its energy core. This was Luo Feng's only hope for victory. Boom. Luo Feng had been locked in a fierce battle with the Black Mountain for countless years. After unleashing hundreds of thousands of blade strikes, he finally located the core within the mountain's body. The instant his blade light pierced that core, the entire Black Mountain silently shrank, reverting to its original form as a sculpture. I won. Luo Feng exclaimed, his face breaking into a delighted grin. During the last major war, he had already defeated the 5th sculpture. Over the long years since then, his blade technique had progressed at a glacial pace. Only through the accumulation of time had he gradually narrowed the gap between himself and the 6th sculpture. Now, after a grueling battle of hundreds of thousands of strikes, he had finally vanquished the 6th sculpture. Suddenly, an invisible fluctuation enveloped Luo Feng. He sensed an immeasurably vast power now at his command, comparable to the power of the Chaos Destruction realm. This was clearly one of the 7 fragments of the Abyss of Destruction's power. The Abyss of Destruction's power within me has essentially doubled, Luo Feng realized. If I were to face the 6th sculpture again, I should be able to defeat it with ease. He understood that this was a reward bestowed by the Abyss of Destruction's rules. Only by mastering and refining the core could one truly control the Abyss of Destruction. Let's try this 7th sculpture, Luo Feng said, his eyes fixed on the final sculpture with anticipation. The 7th sculpture was a miniature Abyss of Destruction. Within each levels of its chaos destruction realm, tiny sculptures represented historical figures who had conquered chaos destruction realms, including Ba Fau, the Hunyuan beast ancestor, and all the other Hunyuan ancestors and lords. Naturally, it also included the 7 other lords from the practitioner faction. Defeating this sculpture would grant mastery over the highest tier mysterious land, the Abyss of Destruction. First, let's test and see the 7th sculpture's power. Luo Feng approached. As he drew near, the 7th sculpture, a miniature Abyss of Destruction, slowly awakened. The miniature sculptures of powerful beings within it began to emerge, ultimately coalescing into 28 figures. Yuan, Lord Xingmeng, Shazhou, Bingfeng Hunyuan Ancestor, Wujin Hunyuan Ancestor, Infinite Serpent Hunyuan Ancestor, Mo Shu, and 21 others, 28 beings in total, stood expressionless, radiating an aura of destruction. 1 against 28. Luo Feng's expression darkened slightly. Throughout the history of the infinite Hunyuan space, 29 beings have conquered chaos destruction realms. A single conquest is enough to be recorded by the 7th sculpture. To face all the other powerhouses except myself. Boom. 28 emotionless figures simultaneously unleashed their attacks. The moment Luo Feng saw their strikes, he breathed a sigh of relief. All 28 figures were wielding destructive power, though the intensity varied. Thank goodness it's all destructive power. If Brother Yuan and the others had come in their true bodies, Brother Yuan's formation could have coordinated all his allies, amplifying their combined strength several times over. A single strike would have annihilated me. Luo Feng understood this clearly. Even with casual coordination, the combined power of these 28 figures rivaled that of 100 ordinary Hunyuan ancestors. If Yuan's perfect formation were activated, boosting their power threefold or fourfold, the resulting force. Even a physical body like Lord Wulan's would be shattered. Luo Feng stood no chance. Rumbled tilde tilde tilde. As if the heavens and earth were collapsing, the boundless destructive energy unleashed by the 28 figures surged forth, relentlessly locking onto Luo Feng, leaving him no escape. Clutching the blood shadow blade, Luo Feng felt suffocated. He instantly transformed into a streak of blade light, attempting to deflect the force. However, under the overwhelming, endless destructive power, even Luo Feng's expression paled as he barely managed to resist. After this move, Luo Feng's main combat clone had only half of its energy reserves remaining. I can't fight this. Luo Feng immediately retreated, escaping the mountain of destruction with a single thought. By leaving a mark on the mountain of destruction, he could freely enter and exit. To be continued in next chapter. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.